welcome to Grid. What is Grid? We're going to explain that. We're talking about how to wholesale. My name is Justin Myers. I am a realtor. I'm going to sit up. Sit down. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams Realty. This is my partner in crime, Cory King. Cory, can you take us to our next slide? Big timer. Awesome. So, what we're going to be talking about today is how to wholesale. How do we assign real estate contracts for quick profits? But who are we and why are we doing this? I think it's important to understand, right? Grid is a national investor network. So go on Grid Investor, join the national Facebook group. Started 14 years ago. It's in 30 cities, it's in 12 states, there's 20,000 investors, right? So we talked about your network is your net worth,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like everything that you need to do is available right now. We're super connected. I don't have to figure anything out. What's going on, Nas? Welcome, glad you're here, man. So the reason we do this is we want to see you win. We want to invest with you. So we're not going to go halfway through and say, hey, you got to buy the course, right? You bought the book and then it directs you to the free resource. We're not going to do that, right? We're going to walk through the life cycle of an investor. So last month we talked about how to build your team. We're going to go all the way through this year. We're doing some really sophisticated topics. So we're going to have maybe some investor 101 breakoffs separate from this. And just walk you through this. By the end of the year, you're going to have an education in creative financing, how to be the bank, syndicating, self-directed IRAs, and we can really dive deep on some of these topics. That's why we do it. We want you to bring deals here. We want to do deals with you. So if you run across something, talk to us. There's some people in the room here you're going to learn very quickly that are very sophisticated and are willing to look at deals, partner with you, give you advice, right? We know if we create an environment of collaboration, we all win. Right? Everyone makes more money when we're all cooperating and when there's trust involved. It's a lot easier to do deals, right? When you can trust people with their word and you can kind of vet people independently and get to know people in this room, right? By coming from contribution. So you can connect with us at gridknoxville.com. All right. I'm going to introduce the peanut butter in our Reese's cup, the brains of the operation, Cory King.
What's up, everybody? Hi. My name's Cory King. I'm a real estate agent. I'm an investor here in Knoxville, Tennessee. Very excited to be a part of this group. It's always great to see people come together to celebrate wins, push each other, right? Learn, grow, network. It just makes for a really, really cool time. So I'm very, very excited that we get to keep kind of building on this tribe, right? It's great to see new faces in the room. It's great to see familiar faces in the room as well that have been staying with us for a while now. So I'm very excited. I'm ready to kind of go around the room and give everybody, their elevator pitch, really, right? So we'll start doing some intros, who you are,
Yes.
what you're looking for.
Here's what an elevator pitch looks like, because neither Cory and I are succinct, but that's why we're up here on stage. But for everyone else, there's a lot in the room. Who you are, right? Hey, John, I'm a real estate investor, and I'm looking for multifamily. I'm looking to connect. I'm looking for a contractor, right, that can fix my plumbing. I'm looking for some answers on a deal that I'm working for, right? Yeah, I'll start with you, Jacob.
Jacob, out of the Keller Williams office here, realtor and investor. My niche right now is just looking for different investment opportunities, whether it be flip, buy and hold, multifamily, just whatever makes sense.
So no niche. Jacob's just looking for deals.
Yeah.
Wherever the dollars make sense.
Okay.
Just networking with the group, seeing how we can all work together and learn about wholesaling today. Yeah.
Awesome. Jeremiah, show us how it's done.
How you guys doing? My name's Jeremiah Holmes. I'm an investor. I got one flip. I also wholesale. Right now I'm wholesaling to build capital to do either subject to deals or some flips, really depending on honestly any way I can make money, whether it's cash flow, whether it's an equity position, whether it can be anything in real estate. I'm trying to make money. So right now I have one deal in Maryville. I'm doing a pretty big price reduction on. If you're a contractor, seasoned investor, and you got a lot of cash, deal with me. I got a deal for you. I just wholesaled one deal in Rocky Top. Didn't even put it on Facebook. I wholesaled 2 deals in Rocky Top, skipped trace the last owners that I wholesaled it to, because I wholesaled it indirectly but directly through an auction, so I didn't even know the guy. And happened to be a realtor, happened to own 8 properties in Rocky Top, so I called him up and I was like, hey, I got another one. He was like, how much you want for it? Anyway, I showed it. So I got that one under contract today, and so I'll close it out in 2 weeks.
There we go.
So that was pretty good to add on what's been good in life. But anyways, I'll stop talking, let other people talk now. Leave it to you.
My name is Tobias. I'm a real estate agent with Rikers here in town. I've been practicing real estate for almost 4 years. I was in construction for 12 years before that, so I specialize, of course, in historic homes. Also, South Knoxville fixer-uppers. I have a couple of investors as clients, and we do a lot of multifamily as well. Also, South Knoxville fixer-uppers.
Well, delay echo.
What am I looking for? I'm looking for my first investment property.
Hey,
And the benefit of this group, I think, would be knowledge and connections.
where are you looking to buy, Tobias? Where are you looking for your?
South Knoxville, North Knoxville.
Yeah,
Okay.
love it.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Jade. I'm a real estate agent out of this office. I work with these two. I bought my first investment not too long ago and still working on it. It's over 100 years old, so it's in the process. I'm really just looking to learn right now because I'm new to both worlds, to being an agent and investing. And I think the number one thing I hope to benefit from is just meeting new people that are interested in the same thing and getting knowledge. So yeah.
Love it.
That's great.
Sean.
My name is Sean Thompson. I've been an investor for about 15 years. We have currently, we're invested in some syndication deals, and we currently have about 68 doors. And looking for people to invest with, joint venture, looking for a deal. I used to be a pretty heavy flipper. 2020 we did 7, 2021 we did 13, and I lost track of what we did last year. It was somewhere around that. We also bought some apartments. I like to invest in multifamily, so if you come across a multifamily deal, we would be very, very interested in that. And what I'm trying to learn and meet new people, and I'm hoping this year to do my first syndication deal.
Great.
I'm Dana Thompson. I'm with Sean Thompson. I'm his wife. In our business, I do a lot of work to support accounting and also the management work for our own companies, and also provide the business consulting and investment advice for other people who ever need advice on taking bank loan or try to get more deals, so something like that.
Cool.
A lot of HR stuff too.
Great.
That's awesome. Good to know.
My name is Jesse. I'm a licensed real estate agent and wholesaler with New Western. Let's see. I'm newer to the Knoxville area. Wife, 2 kids, 2 little girls. Love Knoxville. Live over here in Farragut. My niche is basically I'm here with a company that is newer to the area. We're very large in Nashville. We do a lot of business in Chattanooga as well. But I've already been able to sell 1 deal this month, or this past month. So 1 deal this year already and several last year. So looking to grow, learn from people. Have a few deals available, a couple multifamily in Johnson City coming out, right across from the VA and the hospital there. So it's a nice building opportunity with 8 units that are in need of rehab there also. So, and benefit from the group of learning. I love the upcoming meetings and this one right here. I feel like I'm gonna learn a lot, so thanks.
Glad you're here, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
I'm Travis Dupre, trying to get my real estate license transferred from Louisiana to here in Tennessee. Wife and I just relocated here late October. My niche, I did a few flips back in Louisiana. Basically, I'm here to make connections.
Yeah.
Trying to be a new realtor here. I don't know anyone, so I need to know vendors of every sort, and hopefully my benefit from the group is to one day be the bank.
Awesome.
Welcome.
I'm Joel Reyes. I flipped 2 houses and then I got my real estate license. I also went to the tax sale and got knocked out by some guy from San Diego who really wanted the properties that I wanted. But I'm looking for properties I can get a deal on and hold on for a really long time renting.
Right. Brandy, who are you?
Hey, I'm Brandy Lyden, realtor here in Keller Williams Realty office. Let's see, been in real estate for about 7, 8 years. Investor for maybe 2.5. Flip 3 or 4 a year. Starting to get into buy and holds. Almost bought my first quad last week, didn't get it. So interested in multifamily as well.
Hey, Tristan Russo, currently getting my real estate license right now, but basically just hoping to get some information, get some intel, meet some people for future investments and figure out all the tax laws that there is with it to help me in the future.
Awesome. Elena.
Hi, Elena.
I'm Elena, already work with Keller Williams, but I'm mostly investor, already have 3 properties and I want to increase it on rental properties.
Hey, Elena. Thank you. That's how it's done. That's a great
Short and
commercial.
sweet right there.
Nailed it.
Yes.
My name's Katie. I don't have any experience. I'm kind of just here to learn because my boyfriend told me about the last meeting, so I decided to come today.
We're glad you're here. Truly, yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm Gandhi. I'm here for the second time, and I'm looking to start a construction company to start buying land, building, and selling. And I would like to get some advice from anybody that has experience here, and I hope to benefit from this group in the future.
Thanks, Candy.
Thanks, Candy.
I'm Jackson. I'm an aspiring investor. I just moved here and currently an assistant property manager learning the game. So I'm just trying to get my hands in the investing side.
Welcome to Knoxville.
Thank you. It's been nice so far.
Hello, everybody. I'm Myron Gary. I've heard a lot about these meetings, with a lot of conversation with Cory there, and my schedule finally freed up, so I'm here to learn more about the group, as well as, maybe I can get into the real estate investment game. So, first timer, clean slate, looking to just learn, like I said, because it's my first time.
Love it. Welcome, Iron.
Hello, my name is Vinchelle, and I hope to be a new investor. If I could just get one property this year or a piece of land, anything really, I'll be good with me. I'm just here to learn.
Good, you're in the right place.
I'm Nas. I'm just here to learn. That's all.
Glad you're here today, Alice.
Me?
Yeah,
Hey,
sure.
I'm a real estate agent. I'm a productivity coach. I'm here, my niche is actually farm and ranch property, but I'm also building a portfolio of investment properties. My interest right now would probably be buy and hold, although I'm not opposed to a flip if the deal's good. I'm just here to network, and then also, I think I've said this every time I've been here, I'm learning this so I can teach my clients how to do it, so happy to make the connections.
Huge. Glad you're here, man.
I'm Crystal Clark. I just recently retired from the military up in Northern Virginia, so I just moved here this month. I don't ever want to have a high-stress full-time job again, so I am very eager to transition into a passive income, using real estate as the vehicle for that. So right now, I'm looking for a place to live. After that, I'll be looking to start building my portfolio of investment properties, starting with single family and eventually work into multifamily. I did recently stumble my way into a short-term rental investment opportunity. That's kind of where I got the bug. So I'm hoping to benefit from the group. Just one, for social connections, since I'm new here and I just moved here and need to make friends. And also just to learn and to meet all of you.
That's awesome.
All the agents, we're gonna arm wrestle for your business afterwards. There's only like 15.
I'll take all the cards.
Now, Crystal,
Hello,
welcome.
everybody. Preston Dietz, born and raised here in Knoxville, licensed agent with Keller Williams. My niche, I'm looking to get into luxury real estate, as I'm sure all agents would love to be in. Looking to get into investments in the future. Definitely interested in multifamily. Working with a couple right now that I've got a couple investment properties in the Oak Ridge area. Looking to sell them, so if anybody has any interest, I'd love to share them with y'all and show you some info on them. benefit from the group. I would love to gain knowledge, hopefully, like I said, about multifamily and investing in the future, and networking as well.
How did you hear?
Hello, I'm Sandy Gammon, and I'm a licensed real estate agent with Keller Williams and have been with Keller Williams for some time now. We do residential real estate, my husband Dan and I, and some land, some lots, but not, just mostly residential. I don't know what he's looking for, but I'm looking for passive income. And, we just started thinking about, our future and what we want to do and with the rest of our lives and how we want to live it. And I see all this young energy in Keller Williams and what they're doing and how well they're doing. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to go jump in. I know absolutely nothing about investing, so here I am, just jumping in, and let's just see what happens.
Very nice.
Does anybody know the percentage of Americans that own an investment property? It's 7%.
Wow.
7%. This is Sandy, our very experienced, amazing realtors, great resources in our company, and it's totally not unusual to be like, I have been selling these and never once, it's just not the culture we have, thought about doing this for myself. Probably worked with investors over the years. So I'm really glad y'all are here. Yes, this is great.
I'm Dan Gammon. I'm following her. No, I've been a realtor with this office ever since it opened, and I do a lot of work with an attorney who handles estates, and just kind of looking for the right one to come along. Sure. and jump on it, but we still haven't, satisfactorily answered for ourselves. We really want to be landlords, so that's my hesitation for buying investment property. But that's all.
That's a great conversation for afterwards about passive versus active. I know Crystal mentioned not having stress, and I was like, oh yeah, nothing stressful about investing in real estate.
It doesn't involve killing people, so.
I mean, it might. You have not done work with contractors here in East Tennessee yet.
I'm Amber Robinson. I'm a realtor out the Beard office for Keller. I actually have special certifications for helping the military community, and I'm actually working to get my drone license here in the next few months.
Cool. Yeah. Glad you're here, Amber.
My name is Megan Kerr. I am a real estate agent with Realty Executives. I am here to learn and finally worked with my schedule to come today. So
I'm so glad you're here, Megan.
Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome.
I'm Darwin Kerr. This is my wife, Megan. So we're here to learn, network, kind of add to our portfolio as far as like investment. And so we're glad to be here.
Glad you're here.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, my name is Samani. I'm general contractor. I do roofing also, and the retirement is coming, so I need to do different business in future. So I'm here to learn.
Awesome. Good resource if you need a contractor. You got a contractor in the room.
My name is Vinny Sprague, from Connecticut. Got down here about 1.5 years ago. My niche is wholesaling. I've done, I'm dual licensed, Tennessee, Connecticut. Done some flips, done some buy and holds, short-term, long-terms, but just heavily focused on just wholesaling and sourcing opportunities. Currently just looking for more buyers. We have properties under contract, creative deals, wholesale, traditional wholesale deals. So if anybody's interested, let me know. That's pretty much it.
Need some buyers, right?
Never want to shortage on buyers.
No,
right?
never. That's cool.
I'm Dawn Arian. I'm a real estate investor here in Knoxville. It's still my side hustle, believe it or not. But my niche has been furnished rentals, but this year I'm getting into infill builds, so building new homes on infill lots, and I'm really liking it so far. Looking to continue to network, get to meet people, and I've learned a lot here and want to continue to learn. And if any of you want to learn about credit reporting your tenants, talk to me. cause that's my day job.
Well, that's awesome.
It works hand in hand, huh?
That's awesome. Want to go to our
Legal stuff.
legalese?
Legal stuff, yep.
All right.
You're always an expert at this one.
Important legal stuff. Everything we're gonna share, we're gonna get into the details of wholesaling. We're gonna talk about contractual obligations, because the contracts you're gonna use as a wholesaler can be different than the real estate contract. Verify it independently, right? We're not and verify what you hear in the room independently, right? We're not tax professionals, we're not accountants, we're not home inspectors, and the state of Tennessee makes it very clear that we need to disclose anytime as real estate agents that what we are experts are on is the market, right? And like the marketing and sale and negotiation of real estate. That's it. Read the disclaimer statement. It's like we're not all of these other things, but we can point you in the right direction. So basically, use it at your own risk. You know, don't invest money you can't lose, guys. All right?
Yep.
Ready to jump in?
Absolutely. Let's roll.
Cory, so what's, in your own words, what's wholesaling? Like, walk me through. We hear this a lot. I hear good things. I hear bad things. People say it's easy money. People may not like wholesalers. What's wholesaling?
Yeah, in a nutshell, right, wholesaling is getting into this, is in the process just finding a good deal, right, getting it under contract, and then selling that contract, right, assigning those rights. You've got equitable interest in that property. That's a real tangible thing, and you can then sell that contract to another investor, and the difference between what you have it under contract versus what you sell it for is your assignment fee at the end of the day, that spread.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
All right, can I dumb it down for everyone?
Even more.
Yeah, fantastic, right? All wholesaling is, right, you're basically an external sales force. Think about it that way, right? Why do mortgage brokers exist? Because banks can have people that go originate loans for them that they don't have to pay healthcare to, they don't have to pay anything to, right? They don't have to deal with them when they bring a deal. So a wholesaler, right, is Jeremiah, a couple of other guys here, Vinny, are my marketing experts, right? They're finding deals for me as an investor, and they're getting paid off of the difference, right? Whatever they can negotiate between what is fair market for an investor, where an investor can still make money, and with the seller is how they make their money. Real simple, right? And equitable, did we lose it?
I did.
That's okay.
I accidentally hit your thing.
That's all right. That's the basics of it. We're gonna dive into the details of it because the devil's in the details with wholesaling.
Yeah, you got, we kind of dive into the math on it, right?
Sure.
At the end of the day. So, example, right, you got a property that's worth $100,000 in our numbers, and it's gonna take 10 grand to get that property fixed up. Most investors are gonna kind of wanna buy this for about 70 cents on the dollar minus your cost of rehab. So the way this kind of math breaks down there is just, you need that property for, an investor's gonna wanna buy that for at least 60 grand, so your job there is to get that under contract for less than that $60,000 that an investor's gonna wanna buy it for. And then that difference, again, that you can get there is gonna be your assignment fee. So in this case, this example, if people get it under contract for $55,000, then that $5,000 piece is going to be your assignment fee.
Yeah, basically, right, so it's 70% of the after repair.
After repair value.
Well, 70% of the before repair value, right? So you got your after repair value is 100K.
Yep.
We're gonna subtract 10, so it's 90, and then I wanna get it for,
Yeah, either way.
so however you wanna do it, yes.
Either way is gonna get you there. But they are two separate contracts as well. Like your contract with your seller is different from your assignment contract. Those are two different big pieces of paper.
And so we can skim through a lot of these details here, so let's break those down. One is gonna be, when I'm doing this correctly, right, how do I independently assess what the renovation cost is, right? And then how do I assess what the after repair value is? Those are the two biggest things, you know? Y'all have been talking, do you think we can trust, do you trust most wholesalers' numbers? No? Why not, Sean?
They always overestimate the after repair value and always underestimate the length or the amount of repairs and the length of time it'll take to fix it.
Sure. And then so if you could find someone that really knew what they were doing, is that worth their weight in gold?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
definitely.
awesome. Well, I'm glad we got a couple guys in the room that got some experience because they just don't know. So especially if I'd say be aware if you're dealing with an out-of-state wholesaler that hasn't seen the property, right? If you could do it from a computer, we would.
Yeah.
You know, I just was crawling all over. I was right around where we were on 5th. The other day.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Yeah, me and Vinny went to a meth manor one time. It looked at like seven properties this guy had bought from California with all the, once we got into all these issues you just can't really see until you're walking through it. how to estimate renovations, if you don't have an idea how to do that, is a whole other class that we teach. It is recorded. You can find it on our YouTube channel. So just go to Grid Investor, and under playlists you can see Grid Knoxville. We dive deep in there and we give specific examples with photos, and Cory walks through like a flip we did last year of like, here's the numbers. It's exactly what we spent when we did over on Ashland, over by Chilhowie Park.
Yeah.
Right. So general rule of thumb, 70%. The other one's going to be, how do you estimate after repair value? Right.
Yeah, that's the biggest one, right? Is, and I think to Sean's credit, you're right. Those are the two biggest mistakes we often see wholesalers like make at the end of the day. Is either just messing up on their ARV and like where they actually see this being worth when it's done, and then just how much it's actually going to cost to get there.
Anybody else ever get excited about a deal and find themselves fudging the numbers themselves?
Because you want it to work, right?
Yeah, like, oh man, this is good. I like the house. It's gonna be so cool when it's done. I'm just gonna future pace, right? We're gonna go on the high side. Maybe that one that's for sale is gonna close at this rate, right? And so I'd say you've got a lot of agents in here. They've got access to market data. That's one of the reasons we have people in the room. Like, get with somebody, talk to other people. If you want to learn after repair value, here's an easy way to learn. Go out there with contractors, ask them questions. You just got to absorb it, right, over time, and write this stuff down and compare notes with other people. Hey, what are you paying? And you start to build out, okay, flooring costs about this much, like labor's about this much. Then I start figuring out my materials, tiles this much, a kitchen's like 10, a bathroom's like 5. You start having an idea of this. But at first you're gonna want a contractor, or get someone else in the room to come look at it with you, because that's the single biggest issue, right? Is
Don't over improve. That was what I was guilty of in the beginning. It's like,
yes,
I'm gonna live in this place, so this is what I'm gonna do, but don't like super cheap out, because people walk in here and go, oh yeah, a flipper did this place, and just keep on walking and never see it.
And that's
Know
another
your
thing.
strategy from the beginning, your exit strategy.
Yeah.
You got to plan for your exit strategy.
Sure. Yep. And so those are some important pieces. If you're the end user, however, we're going to talk about what it's like if you're in the great position of being the person originating the deal, and that's Dawn's problem to deal with, because I'm wholesaling it to her.
Right. Never ever going to actually.
She's gonna. My exit strategy is just assign and get over to you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so you kind of broke down the formula real quick, right? Just taking that ARV, multiplied by 70% minus your renovation costs. That's your purchase price. In fact, that's the purchase price that an investor is going to want to buy it. You got to do better than that at the end of the day. So where we kind of did some math there around before, say taking $100,000, takes 10 grand to get that home worth 100. So 70,000 minus your 10 in reno, 60,000 bucks. You got to get it for less than $60,000 at that point to have an assignment fee into there. And whatever you can negotiate that assignment fee is yours to make, right? I've seen that number be $5,000. I've seen that number be $100,000. And I think even if you're the investor buying that, if the numbers all still make sense, does it really matter, I guess, what the wholesaler makes at the end of the day?
No.
Not really.
I've paid big wholesale fees. I don't care.
Right.
What do you think's the biggest one you paid, Sean?
What's that?
What do you think's the biggest one you paid?
I paid $22,000, a little over $22,000 on a property in South Maryville.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you bring me that deal in my buying area, I'll buy that all day long.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's just kind of a key feature of it all. I mean, a big question that just comes up, right?
Is it legal, Cory?
Is it legal? Like, absolutely.
Does it matter?
Yes, that matters. Yes, 100% matter. But is it legal? Yes, absolutely. I mean, really, what you're buying in here is what's called as equitable interest, right? And that is a tangible thing, is that intent to purchase, or that interest in the property.
So let's talk about that, because we should dive into this. Anytime you have a contract, you have what's called a bundle of rights, right? And one of your bundle of rights is your ability to assign that equitable interest to another buyer. It's got to be specifically excluded from your contract. So you're not going to use a regular Tennessee real estate contract for a couple of different reasons on this. We're going to dive into that. Like, by regular Tennessee real estate contract, I mean one from a realtor, like a TAR form. One, it's got to be used by a realtor, and two, it's got a lot of information that's not going to be applicable here that really protects consumers and protects realtors. Right? A ton of that information is just, hey, we're explaining everything. There's a lot of disclaimers that protect me as an agent. You don't need a contract that long just to conduct a simple purchase and sale contract. In that contract, it specifically excludes that it's not assignable. Yeah. Right? So that this is common. Anything else you do, you have the ability to sign over any other contract that you form. And if you get into commercial real estate, This is what happens by default, because a typical commercial buyer may not know how I'm gonna close this entity, right? Hey, we have it under contract, we're gonna figure out which of the corporations or the LLCs we're gonna close it under. So, it's automatically assigned, we're gonna close it somehow, I'll sit down and figure, are we using a new one, or Cory and I, or hey, maybe we're bringing Vinny in on this, so we need to form a separate LLC to take this thing down, right? Because we don't know how we're gonna assign that.
Yeah, I think the key point in there is just having a contract that gives you that right to assign it, because that's a great point. Like our state forms specifically say that in that first paragraph, essentially, that this is like a non-assignable contract, that it's just between those two parties. So
How'd you guys get your contracts in here in that wholesale? Did you hire an attorney, did you write your own? What's that?
Title companies.
Title company's a great example. How about you, Vinny?
That's what I'm using right now from title company.
Great.
You can also make your own. I mean, you can write a contract on it. Why can't you make a contract yourself?
Sure.
I mean,
How about you, Jesse?
My wonderful company provided these legal documents that I provide to my people and go over in depth.
Yes.
So I don't know where they got them.
Sure.
probably hire the attorney out
Probably
at
attorney
that
for
point.
new
I mean,
investors.
yeah, you just,
Yeah.
it's worth the cost at that point. If that's something you're gonna wanna get into, I would say go to your title company,
Yeah.
go find an attorney and get to write you up a contract, and then you just have it, and you're off.
How long's your contract?
2.5 pages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I would say
you-
mine is like 2.5 pages.
Yeah, it can be a 2-page contract. We've written plenty of contracts. It can be something very, very simple, right? It's just gonna be some terms that you're gonna wanna define, right? And basically, when you're writing a contract, what does that look like, right? It's gonna be making it clear who the parties are, making it clear what happens in the event of a default, right? You've gotta put some money down, right? What's the term I'm missing there?
Like earnest money deposit?
Not earnest money, it's the legal term for the same thing for earnest money, whatever it is, it'll come, consideration,
There we go.
right, that's the
There we
legal
go.
term.
Yeah.
Some sort of consideration, and then when does that become fully hard, when does that become in play, right? Once you've cleared any sort of inspection period, or any sort of contingency. That's the basics of a contract, you don't need to do a lot more to cover that. Am I missing anything? Really, if you've got that, you've got the bones of a contract, and then just clear dates. I have seen contracts, we've seen wholesale contracts that have no
dates, no nothing on
No
there.
end- no end date.
No end date, yeah.
And if
for
it doesn't
sure.
have an end date, it's not
It has to be a
enforceable.
period of time.
Yes,
Yeah.
you can't sign it in perpetuity, there's gotta be some sort of an end date to your contract. Other than that, pretty straightforward, consult with an attorney, but it doesn't need to be a very long document at all. We used to do options we had a 1-page option contract on lots that we'd use all the time in all of our transactions.
Yeah, those are worthwhile. Big one, right? Big question comes up. Do you need a real estate license to do this?
Well, it comes up should you get a real estate license too, right? Some people we've got some people here that have them, some people that don't have them. And is it legal? You don't need a real estate license to do this because you're not actually selling real estate, right? What you're selling is your interest, your equitable interest in there. So you're selling essentially a business opportunity, which is why you can't, if you're an agent, why you can't list this on the MLS, right? Because you don't actually own the property. You're selling an equitable interest, so it's considered like a commercial transaction. So you can't actually list and market it through the MLS.
That's a fair takeaway or kind of note to have in there is just having whatever you're using to market your deal at that point, make sure you at least have some kind of clause in there that you're assigning your equitable interest in this deal, that you're not just looking to hey, I'm selling this house kind of thing, because at that point we're practicing real estate without a license, and that's definitely where some folks can and have gotten in some serious hot water over it all. So having that equitable interest, or assigning our equitable interest, is a very key phrase to have in there in any of your marketing efforts.
Some people will hear maybe, hey, I need a real estate license to do this effectively.
Sure.
You don't necessarily, and the company you work for may have some restrictions on wholesaling, right? Certainly, if you're an agent and you're wholesaling, there's probably some different practices you should approach when you're having that conversation. And I think now's the time to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what does that conversation look like? For you as an agent, if you're looking to wholesale a property, and there's many ways to do this, how do you approach that conversation?
And I guess for me personally, it's going to be something that I'm definitely interested in taking down on the front end, because it's more of a conversation of, is this person willing to just accept a cash offer as is, that they can kind of move on to where they're wanting to go, right?
Yep, because we're in the problem-solving business, and we're
Yeah, so
identifying
I'm looking to
needs,
solve
finding
that
solution.
problem. I
Yep.
think for me personally, like, it's something that I would buy, right? I might just choose to kind of like option this out or assign this out to someone, but push comes to shove, I would still do that deal. Because I'm just
So
not one to.
For you, wholesaling is like a secondary option in the quiver, right?
Correct.
Hey, I'm looking to get deals under contract, right? I've got someone who's motivated. I want to lock them down now, and I'm going to figure out. I'm going to do some investigation, see if it's something that we can flip, and if not, hey, can I go take this someplace else and pass this along to someone else who may have the bandwidth to do it, right? Because I am constantly marketing for deals, and I don't know how many deals are going to come, right? I may get 3 deals this month, and I only have the bandwidth for one of those. So what am I going to do with those other 2? Well, here's the method of doing that. It's
Yeah.
great. As an agent, I say, here's the way that I've had that conversation. It's just I'm going to have a conversation with them and make it clear to them there's other options there. Hey, are you interested in getting retail? What do you think about doing some updates on this property, right? Because if something's being wholesaled, let's be clear, like, why is it being wholesaled? Because there's issues with it. There's mold, there's structural issues. It's a hoarder house. And that's, again, whole other conversation, or how to identify motivated sellers is an hour where we dive into how you find that and what those categories look like, right? But it's a house that has some serious problems, and that's why they're coming to you for a solution. But I'm gonna have that conversation with them, because we found, right, we took the deal we did last year, they knew they could have gotten more.
Yeah.
They sold it to us. They were happy to do so, and she was like, tell me how much money you make. I'm excited for you to make money, as one of my friends. I just want a quick cash offer. I want to go live on the beach.
Distressed property or distressed owner?
Yeah. And for them, it was just cost benefit. They didn't want to deal with the selling process. They didn't care. They wanted they wanted a certain amount to get out of the house so they can go to Myrtle Beach, and they were there next month. We can make a quick cash close for them, right? And that was solving their problem. But we made it very clear, like, we can take this to market and you will make more money. I've seen the same thing happen with residential list clients.
Sure, absolutely.
They come over there, we're bringing a cash offer and being like, we're leaving $20,000 on the table. Like, you should not take this offer. We should go get the house ready and list it next month. And they're like, couldn't deal with the emotion. It was too stressful for him to go get the house ready for sale. He took the cash offer for
That certainty, right? That guarantee, I think, just definitely is a human trait, right? Is we like certainty. We like to know, like, things are sure and true, and just kind of moving for there. So at times people, I think, will take those that guarantee versus the risk.
And do you have some thoughts on how we introduce that conversation at the table of the assignable part of this, right? Like, hey, I'm gonna pass this along, because I think is that a big limiting factor for anyone else? Is like, how do I have that conversation? I'm like, hey, I might not buy this thing, I might pass it off to someone else, and you're gonna find out I'm making money off of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love Jeremiah to go for.
Yeah,
Just
sure.
always have full transparency.
Yeah.
Tell them what you're doing. Stealing Rocky Top, I told them, like, it was off a referral, so I wholesaled 2 properties for them for their entire family.
Yep.
So I got another referral. So I told the guy, I was like, hey, there's not a lot of buyers in Rocky Top, but I think I can get it. It was a nice property. So I was like, look, like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna market it to a bunch of investors, and they're gonna pick it up. And if they don't pick it up, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna seller finance this thing. I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna flip it. We're gonna list it. I'm gonna pay you out. I'm gonna get paid out. But it's just multiple exit strategies and just being transparent. I mean, that's the best way to do it.
I love it. We're gonna circle back to that too, about actually closing on the property. No, I think I was listening to the founders of Grid today talking about this, and just one of the ways to do that, and this is the same thing if you are working with investors, is, I work with partners, maybe multiple involved in this deal. I may bring someone else into this deal, so you may see more than one of us at the closing table, because that's the truth, right? I don't know. I may come to Sean's looking for JV opportunities, right? I heard people looking for passive investment opportunities. What's what a passive investment opportunity looks like? You have the capital, I'll go run the play. And we're gonna split the profits however we choose to chop that up. And so in our experience, if you've been upfront with people and you're solving their need, and you didn't deceive them on the front end, right? I had that conversation. Hey, I've got multiple ways I can take this. Is this gonna fit your need? Hey, fantastic, I'll do this, and I'll make sure you're gonna have a check by February 22nd. Great. I'm gonna have some discussions. We're gonna figure out how we structure this and how we take it down. They're gonna be fine as long as they get their money, right? As long as that amount is there. And one of the ways that you can do this, closing costs.
Sure.
If you wanna make it very simple for them, and as the buyer, as the wholesaler, say you'll assume the closing costs. And then just convey that to whoever your end user is. So that way, whoever you're making that offer to, it's clear to them, hey, if I'm giving you 60,000, you're gonna see 60,000 on the HUD. You're not gonna see 60,000 minus closing costs and gonna feel some kind of way like, hey, that wasn't disclosed. Because that's not a good feeling, right? If I'm not sophisticated and it just wasn't disclosed, I didn't read the fine print of the contract, and now I'm stuck paying fees when what I heard was $60,000 and I've already spent that $60,000.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And be like I said, just be willing to execute the deal at the end of the day, however you're gonna get there. Like oftentimes those are distressed properties at the end of the day. People are distressed properties, distressed sellers, and or both. And at that point, I would look at it like you're just not trying to leave somebody twisted in the wind at that point, right? Be honest, be transparent up front. If it's not gonna make sense for you, just like don't do the deal in the first place. But I'm a big believer in leading with that in terms of if I'm gonna move on something, even if I'm gonna sign it out, come that day, if I say I'm showing up on the end of the month, like someone's showing up there kind of thing, and bringing some people in, you're gonna end up with that money in your pocket at the end of the day.
And so one of the things can happen, well, let's circle back to having like
Sure.
what goes wrong, and we'll go through these other ones here, because I don't wanna I think it might be one question we ask. But yes, I think that exit strategy is begin with the end in mind.
Yeah, it's huge at the end of the day.
Cory, so, go back one.
Oh, go back one?
No, you're there.
Oh.
Sorry, we're
Oh,
on that one. So
sorry.
where do I find
your buyers?
Yeah, how do I find buyers?
Man, definitely getting into rooms like this, right? Connect, network with people. There's gonna be other meetup groups. There's gonna be online meetup groups. There's gonna be the grid investor community on Facebook.
There's another grid
Great
session on this
resource.
topic.
There's another grid session on this topic. Those are great. Those are gonna be great places to go out and find your people, find your buyers, find your end users for these.
Do you need a cash buyer list, guys, that are wholesaling currently?
Honestly, I don't really have one. I go on Facebook, people tell other people about my deals, people comment underneath my Facebook posts with other people that might be interested. But honestly for me, I'm trying to build a small list of 3 to 5 buyers that are pushing 3 to 6 deals a month. Cause those are like legitimate, like actual, like they're pushing, they're hustling, you know what I mean? I don't want the guy that's buying one deal every 6 months. Like, no offense if that's what you're doing, all power to you. But I mean, I wanna keep putting out deals like it's a machine.
Well, there's a symbiotic relationship, right, between an investor and a wholesaler. Would you agree, Vinny? Same thing, you'd like to find some qualified, small pool of buyers?
Yeah, having 5 guys you could call and say, hey, I got this one, and they're like, done, and you have the confidence in both ways that's gonna be done.
Sure.
I don't shy away from reaching out to everybody though.
Yeah.
Because, those guys that might be returning, they might want a better deal, or might limit your cap, and somebody else that, hey, my mom lives next door that I really want that, they might be willing to pay a little bit more because it's more of an emotional buy.
Yeah.
And if it works for them, it makes sense for them, there's that opportunity too. So I don't limit myself one way or the other, but.
I like that. That goes back to what Cory was saying when he started flipping lots, so he'd go to the neighbors, right? Because the neighbors are gonna pay the highest for that vacant lot because they've got the most vested interest in that property. It's worth the most to them, doubling the size of their lot. Yeah.
You can, if you get a good deal, go be somebody to buy it. And there's a bunch of these like wholesaling classes that tell people to go out and say you get a good deal, and you want to collect everybody's email address. But I'm in several groups with a lot of guys who flip and buy a lot of flips, and we figure out real quick who those people are, and they become clowns to us. I'm just gonna be honest. Two ways get you real quick labeled as a clown. Say, I've got a good deal, collect everybody's email address, and don't send anything to anybody, and put 2 or 3 deals up, and we'll go and look at it, and your after repair value is way off, and your repair numbers are way off, and you do that to me twice, and I'll never look at another one of your deals again, because I'm not wasting my time on you.
That's right.
I don't have time to look at everybody's deals. I only look at the ones that look appealing. If I get out there and you lie to me, then you've wasted my time.
Yeah.
What I found from these groups, you know, Jason and Richard's group is great, right? Jason's traveling well, but Jason will be like, I'll go look at these deals for you. If you're just honest, I think I've got an opportunity. Will you take a look at this? What do you think? People will come look at it. It's a very different conversation. Sure, I got nothing going on Tuesday. I'm not wasting my time. I'm glad to come out. I'm gonna pour back a little bit. I'm gonna explain what I'm looking at, right? And I know I certainly.
A guy who was an out-of-state wholesaler, and I made a deal with him. So look, man, I'll go look at your deals and take pictures of them as far as I get first shot at him. I bought 3 deals off of that guy, and then he quit. I don't know what happened. He disappeared. He's not around anymore. But I bought 3 deals off that guy.
He cashed those checks and went to
Vegas.
That guy should be a real estate agent.
Yeah,
he got
for real.
paid and just disappeared for a few
Doing over
months.
30 deals a month.
Wow.
But he wasn't just working Tennessee.
Yeah.
He had
He
6
did
or
make his
7
lick.
people in a room plus a bunch of virtual people, and
Okay.
he was killing it. So I don't know what happened to him.
That's wild.
My wanted poster out there. Find that dude.
Cory, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Do I need to understand reno costs? Like, do I need to know, I mean, we talked about this earlier, right? Do I need to know that whole game to wholesale it?
This is an asterisk there, right? Because like, do you need to? Like, no, technically not. Because certainly the pros, that people that are doing this are going to vet that really fast. They're going to look at it in 5 seconds and be able to tell you like, no, that's way off and not going to happen. You should know though. I mean, in reality,
Yeah, Sean
yes,
just
Sean told you, like,
explain the whole
yes,
thing.
that's
If I skip
why.
the slide, this is exactly why. But I think honestly, we're a small community. Just be transparent with people. Like, we all had to learn. There's new people in this room. Everybody, no one came out of the womb as an experienced investor. And there's enough people here. There's enough to go around. Like, find a partner, joint venture with somebody, get somebody to go in on a deal with you, so you can learn the ropes and you don't lose your ass the first time, and continue to make money together.
I don't think the slides are advancing, are they? Is that the right slide?
No,
I think they just kind of
they're
They out of order. I don't know.
was out of order.
Cool. So, yes, this is the one we're looking for, right? So what do we do? Do you have to buy? Go back one, Cory.
Why it's like clicking through?
I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Where do I find them?
Just right there. This So do we have to buy the property? Like, what do we have to do? Let's talk about settlement. I think this is one of the most important pieces of the whole wholesale game. This is probably the biggest way you can fumble the bag, get a bad reputation, right? So I'll be the devil's advocate, and then so you can talk about how we should do this. Does that sound fair?
Yep.
Not necessarily, right? You can go in and write a contract, and you should write a contract as a wholesaler that protects yourself, right? As a wholesaler, you should be taking advantage of, like, how do I put the least amount of equity down on a property, like valuable consideration? Hey, if I can get this thing under contract for $100 as an option, you should do that, right? It's what's in your best interest. I should write a contract that gives me an out if I'm not able to close on the property. Because if you can't perform for whatever reason, you want to be able to get back out of it. And you may find, especially when you're starting, you're looking at things that you thought made sense. We've had this conversation even with guys at wholesale before, where you're not going to be able to do that. You need to come back to them and say, hey, I can't, probably someone else will be having a different conversation with them in the future. Maybe someone who's more experienced is going to come and talk them down to whatever what the place is really worth, right? Because you got it under contract because you were willing to overpay. When I go assign that, right, we'll talk about earnest money when we get back there. But yes, you should have an out. Cory, what's the way you should do this if you want to have a great reputation?
If you want to have a good reputation, know how to underwrite your deals, I guess, first off, right? Be willing to go perform ultimately, so you're not, like, again, leaving somebody twisting out in the wind. I mean, to dive into just for like a minute more, or kind of personalize this. So like on mine, in terms of where I have my out, my inspection period runs through close of escrow, right? Which is like right up to closing day. That's my option period. That's how it's written in there, is my inspection period runs through close of escrow, which means we run like right up to that day. And that day, if you can't do it, like, that's my safety net out. Never had to use that. I never intend on that, right? Anything I'm personally going for, like, I'm going beginning with the end in mind. I intend to buy this or flip this. I know somebody who's going to buy it, so it's going to make sense. But that's at least one way I've found, at least to have in my contract, that gives me a good out as my inspection period goes through close of escrow.
Well, because let's talk about what else can happen too, right? I go ahead and I've got every expectation of doing this. I sign a deal with another party and they back out of the deal.
Mm-hmm.
That's beyond my control, right? They back out of the deal, they walk away from their earnest money, I'm unable to perform. So what do I do with that instance? One, communicate with your seller at all times, right? If you over communicate and build rapport, that person may be willing to give you some flexibility. Hey, something's come up, right? We're gonna extend there. Hopefully I've got an exit strategy in mind. I've got some other people that can come in and close this deal. Really, hopefully I've got the ability, right, to come in with a partner. Like when Jeremiah talked about this, I'm using creative financing, which we'll talk about next month. I've got a seller financing strategy in place, which is gonna allow us, for me to close on this deal, start this process and get you paid. So I have a way of closing this even if the buyer I have doesn't perform. When you assign that deal though, to protect yourself, you should be asking for earnest money. You should be asking for as much earnest money as you can get. Certainly you should get more earnest money from the buyer that you assign the deal to than you put up with the original seller. That way you're hedged. You've covered yourself there, right? And then it's whatever that contract is, your ability to perform, right? And that's gonna be, again, not to beat the same drum over and over again, relationships. Like, who do I have where I know if all else fails, right, I could call Vinny up or I could call some of these guys in this room, hey, will you take this deal? I can't perform on this, will you take this deal? Have you ever had that happen where someone comes and they're like, they're not making a ton of money, but they have to close on a deal?
An apartment deal like that.
Okay.
But it wasn't a wholesale deal, it was a on-market deal that fell apart at the last minute, and the banker brought it to me and I closed on it.
Sure. It's the same thing, right? But they had a performance deadline, they had money at stake, right? They could have been sued for specific performance if they didn't meet where the contract was written properly, right?
Yeah.
And so they needed someone else to step in and take advantage of that. Yeah. How do you handle, Vinny, this? How do you hedge yourself?
In terms of how much money down?
No, like, so in terms of what happens if you get in this transaction and like
transparency.
your buyer backs out, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple deals that I've come across and, it just doesn't pan out, but transparency through the whole way, developing a relationship. I'm a real person, I'm walking the property, talking to people, where, if, we'll close on it. We did a flip in Oak Ridge last year because of that. Couldn't wholesale, we did really well on it. Kind of glad we didn't, wholesale it up, to be honest with you. And then I have other sellers that are just like, okay, hey, give us a couple months, we're gonna fix it up and we'll list with you anyway. So I'm like, all right.
That's cool.
So just always having, the good intentions there no matter what, and developing that relationship. But yeah, transparency for sure.
So then it sounds like really the conversation there is, in an initial conversation, are you setting the stage of like, here's what I'm looking to do, and here's the ways I may be closing on this property?
Yeah, absolutely. Being upfront, and at this point, I don't act as a realtor in that capacity. I don't market myself as that. It's kind of just like, hey, if you're willing to fix it up, I don't mind, working with you and listing it for you kind of deal. But yeah, I mean, we kind of always have multiple exit strategies, as we spoke about, and just try to position things. I mean, there's so many different ways to structure them, whether you're buying it cash and flip it, or you gotta get hard money, or creative financing, or, subject to, there's so many different ways to make it happen. Just kind of figuring out what solution is good for that seller.
What I want to hear though from both the guys in here that are actively wholesaling as a main stream of income right now is, hey, I'm transparent up front, so then later I've got flexibility, right? Because I've set the stage correctly.
Yeah, you should.
I didn't mislead someone that I was doing something, and at the 11th hour, now I've got to tap dance my way out of this thing.
That's right. The last thing you want to do is have some seller, some old lady packing up, ready to go, closing tomorrow, and you're just like, you ghost her and you disappear. Like, that's why the wholesalers, in my opinion, get the bad rep, because they don't know how to, do the, after repair values or the renovation costs, or have the capability of closing a property, and then lack of communication and just, stiffing them in the end. There's not a good way to operate.
Definitely will go sideways pretty quick.
What's next, sir?
Right. Just how do we get paid?
How do you get paid?
And so So in that, right, this can either be if we're just doing like a straight assignment, this can either show up just as a line item on your settlement statement, which is pretty common, I would say, at least that I've seen. Most of the time I've seen it being a line item on there. I've also seen that be done as a double close as well. You actually go ahead and buy it and turn around in the same day that gets sold over to the new buyers. And in that, there's going to be some additional closing costs and things get in there, but if you're really looking to kind of hide what your spread is in there, then that's the way I see most people try to do that, is they just end up doing a double close. And they just go ahead and close, and then same day a title company goes around and sells it to, like you're selling it now to a new buyer, and then they're totally two separate transactions at that point.
If you need transactional funding, give me a holler.
What's transactional funding for those way?
Transactional funding is if you have to do a back-to-back closing, somebody actually, if you're gonna do two closings, somebody actually has to show up with the money.
Yep.
So I can wire the money and you guys can use it to close the first deal, and I get paid back the same day, and the next day they wire it back to me.
Awesome, right?
For a handsome fee, right?
Usually about $1,000 to $1,500 a pump, depending on the size of the deal.
Nice.
So there's some that charge a lot more, but it's, I'm not gonna gout somebody.
Sure.
But you don't get wire fees and stuff, so.
Definitely.
Yeah, no, that's a great option. That's what about one? There's one more thing. If you are collecting earnest money and you're not, you want to collect that escrow money. You want to have that buyer that you're assigning this contract to go make that deposit with the title company. With the title company that you're using, you want the title company to hold it in escrow, right? And why are we using a title company? Because you want a third party there when it's very clear, hey, we can't perform or we're not doing this, that can release those funds where it's not in play. Like that's going to be the best for all parties, and it's best for the buyer as well. The title company's holding that in escrow, but you want them to do that directly. And that's also going to protect you from some escrow requirements. What you should be doing if you're escrowing funds is going to get you out of the regulations that we have to follow, like as real estate brokers. We have to handle earnest money.
Yeah, that's a great point. No, we're talking about.
No, we did this one here. I
We
saw
did.
that one because I forgot it earlier. What do we got next, Cory?
Sure. We got sorry, just diving into there. Just like how much money do I need? Keep going. How to get paid? How much do you need?
I actually got, my marketing costs for the entire month. I thought it'd be a good idea to do my books and kind of explain to people like the marketing costs and stuff.
I love it. Yeah. So, and this goes to our point, right, Jeremiah? I consider you a professional marketer.
It's really hard.
But I mean, that's what you do for a living. Is you market.
Yeah.
You market properties. When we talk about it, you dive deep into. You can tell me what your acquisition cost is and what your per, whatever it's for a text or for a name or for a lead, like what you're paying down to like the cent, right?
Yeah.
And then you professionally come here and you market properties. That's what your job is as a wholesaler, right? Is to go out, find these, and then professionally market them. So yeah, walk us through what does it cost you?
Okay, so I mean, basic rundown. Depending on what kind of plan you have, I use batch leads, so I have like 12 cents per skip trace. So then it cost me 0.0075 cents per text. Cost me 0.0085 cents per call or ringless voicemail. I do about 2 texts, so 0.0075 times 2, whatever that is, plus my 1 ringless voicemail, because you want multiple touch points. Just like building a brand, you want like 6 touch points, billboards, like stuff like that anyhow. So I mean, basically, just to run you through my numbers for the entire month of, well actually it was like 3 days. I ran my marketing for 3 days, that's all I had to do. So I spent $266.28 on skip tracing, $67.47 on texting and ringless voicemail, with a total of $333.75 in total, just my marketing costs. So basically, plus my subscription, so batch leads, PropStream. I use PropStream for data, not really for skip tracing. So $99 for batch leads, $99 for PropStream. My text messaging software is $49. I use .loop to get contracts signed, so I use that for $32. You have to validate mobile phone numbers to text people to see if it's a mobile phone number or a landline phone number. or else they'll flag you with, I use Twilio, and then that comes out to $329 a month, so just for my services to use. So add that with my marketing costs, I spent $662.75. In total, I had 1,290 mobile phone numbers. In total, I skip traced 2,542 property owners. The total landline numbers were 1,252. If you want the money, it has like a 1% return on investment. Don't hold me to it, you might have had better. But 1,252 landline numbers. I would do mailers. You could cold call, but me personally, I'd rather touch 400 to 800 people per day than sit on a phone. You could definitely cold call. Great way to market. Not the best use of time. Opportunity cost. So in total, what I got from that is I got one under contract. That doesn't include the referral that I got. So technically I have 2 deals this month. 4 solid leads. I made 4 offers, 2 are pending. They're sub 2 deals. One I backed out before I even got it under contract because it just wasn't a good area and I just didn't think it would be a good wholesale. One got accepted and I have 2 to 3 appointments coming up off of 1 follow-up, and I have 2 appointments for 2 different properties from 1 property owner. So I'd say my response rate is between 24 and 58% response rate. And if you know anything about marketing, that's pretty solid.
That's great.
So when it really comes down to marketing, you gotta look at different demographics. Like, what are you saying? What are other people saying? Like, if I'm texting somebody and they're texting the same thing as me, they're not gonna respond to me. They're gonna think I'm spamming. So I use something completely different. I'm like, hey, I'm not like, hey, you got a price. I'm like, hey, you got a number in mind. Like, just little stuff like that. What time are you sending your messages? 4 to 8 o'clock is the best time. Promise you. I get my best response rates from 4 to 8, but I send them out at 10 because people don't look at their phones until 4 to 8. So I'm already I already got them. And as soon as 4 o'clock hits, 5 o'clock hits, 6 o'clock hits, and they just got off of work, they're looking at their phone. And then it's me. They got a ringless voicemail? Who gave me a voicemail? That's another touch point. They're like, oh, I got a voicemail and he texted me? This guy's not spamming because they know the sound of a human voice. I don't sound like I'm from the Philippines. I sound like a normal, American guy. No offense. But, it's just different stuff you gotta do. You gotta get out of the box and just really, I market, I start my list at 10 o'clock. I do 2 people per minute from the time 10 to 4, and I play cleanup crew from 4 to 8. And then I gotta stop working. So, if you wanna push out a lot of deals, you wanna get a lot of volume, it requires a lot of time. And a lot of people don't got time, but here's the beautiful thing. That's why you set everything up automated. Whether it be automated responses, make your automated responses not sound robotic. The key is to not sound like a robot. It's to talk to people like they're a person. That is a key and the most beautiful thing that I've come to realization is if you can talk to somebody like they're a person, they're going to respond to you. Because people want to talk to people. People don't want to talk to robots. I'm not out here marketing myself like I'm a corporate entity, like Open Door. I'm just a person. I'm just a guy. I'm a 22-year-old kid, and I'm just trying to get deals, and I'm trying to put money in people's pockets, whether that's an investor or if that's a buyer. Today I had I got this under contract for 85 grand in Rocky Top, 15K in repairs. I showed one guy it. He came back at 80, and he could close in 2 weeks. So that was like the bread and the butter. And I explained the situation to the seller. I'm like, hey, here are your options. Usually I do this between 5 and 10 grand because I don't like to gouge buyers. It's not how you do business. People don't want to do business with people that are trying to scam people out of 40 grand when you could just not be rude. You don't have to be greedy about it. I do volume, so I'm trying to push things out, maybe quick 5 grand, on to the next deal. Quick 5 grand, on to the next deal. So I explained it to these sellers. I was like, listen, I know I told you guys 85, and I really feel bad for coming back to you, but this guy had a pretty solid offer, and it was right around what you guys were asking. would you guys mind doing 75? I can close in 2 weeks instead of 45 days. And I'll make $5,000 off this deal. I told them exactly how much I made. And I don't mind telling buyers how much I make either. Even though it's really none of their business. But it's not like, I'm just so transparent with people.
They're gonna find out anyway.
They're gonna find out anyway. Like,
what are you paying for earnest money on a deal like that? Because that's the only piece of the equation you haven't answered. Of like, okay, I need this much money to start.
so
Sounds
my
like
one in
less than
Maryville, my one in Maryville, I was so certain about it. So here's the situation for my one in Maryville. So it's a 4.2, 1,618 square foot. And here's the thing, it's right next to the bypass, a mile away from Blount County Hospital, a mile away from Home Depot, a mile away from Food City. Great location. No comps. There's all 3 2s. There's no 4 2s on that side of the road. But as soon as you get across the highway, there's a bunch of 4 2s. But it's just 2 completely different areas.
Yeah.
So I was playing this guessing game, and I put this deal out on Facebook, and I kind of feel really bad about it because I feel like it kind of ruined my reputation a little bit because I thought I put a bad deal out because I was kind of guessing an ARV. Like I talked with, I don't know if he's here, my buddy Luke Rivers. So I run my numbers by realtors, and I run my numbers by like contractors. I'm not a contractor. I'm not a realtor. I'm not an expert in ARVs. I'm not an expert in contracting.
Okay.
So, I mean, if it was me in a perfect world, I think it's always best to go that extra mile. Get that contractor budget. Go to that
How
realtor.
much did you have to put out for earnest money to get under contract? Because that's an
So,
expense.
yeah, my bad.
That's okay.
I put down $1,000.
Okay.
Because I was certain that this was a deal, and I explained to the seller, I'm going to run this by a bunch of investors, and if not, I'm going to buy it down. And then I started looking at the numbers after I had a couple people run through. And they were like, you know what, where I went wrong, and sometimes you're gonna make mistakes, I make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, everybody's had a bad deal. I mean, you gotta learn somehow. Nobody's perfect. So there's a mobile home park that's right behind it. And when I was looking at this mobile home park, it looked nice from the front end. You go back a little bit, kind of gets crappier.
Okay.
So I overlooked the deal a little bit. I thought it was in a great location.
Sure.
I thought this was a good deal. So what ended up happening was I had a couple contractors come through and they came back. They said my rehab budget was fairly on point. I had one contractor told me $121,000. So, and then a $15,000 buffer, so $140. So I started running my numbers, and then somebody said, I had a couple people come back and say my ARV was off by $25,000.
Okay.
So I said, okay, I looked at the situation, reacted unemotionally. I said, what do I have to do to make this deal work? What do I have to do to get this cash in the seller's pocket? What do I have to do to not ruin my reputation and try to push this deal out as a deal to get it into an investor's hands? And that's what you gotta do. I'm a highly functioning problem solver.
What did you put down on the one in Rocky Top?
Nothing.
You got that deal for nothing?
I got it for nothing. I mean, honestly, I told him what I could do. Even if it wasn't oh, I'm not gonna put earnest money down because I'm afraid I'm gonna lose my earnest money in any capacity. I put $1,000 down on the Maryville one to entice the seller.
So I'm gonna put a pin in that one, just for respect to everyone's time, because I wanna hear more about this. Vinny, what's an average you wanna put down for earnest money?
As little as possible.
Little as possible.
$100.
Okay. And what's the high end, you think?
1,000.
Okay, great. So running this thing, can you do it with no money? No, but you can do it with pretty minimal funds, right? Compared to most ventures, right? I can go get something under contract, $1,000 in operational expenses, up to 1,000. What's going on, Jesse?
No, man.
We were just talking about earnest money. How much? Jesse's a wholesaler. What do you like to put down? How much have you put down on wholesale deals?
The most I put down is $100.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So, pretty inexpensive.
Realistically, I guess it's what you can negotiate out of it, right?
Less
How
than
much does
feeding
it
a
cost
family
to
of 4 at
start?
Wendy's right now.
Yeah, we're looking at how much does it really cost to start? It's pretty much $0,
Yeah.
right? You can do this knocking on doors. You can do a cold calling people. There are certainly some great systems that are out there that will help expedite that process. But in reality, you can do it for $0. You can go just start knocking on doors. You can start kind of pounding the pavement.
Driving for dollars.
Driving for dollars, right?
Craigslist.
Yeah, I mean, there's numbers of opportunities out there, and it's definitely an economies of scale. So the more you put into it, you kind of grow quicker. But really, if we're just wanting to get started, pretty much free at that point. It's just a matter of just finding the deal.
Awesome.
That's the big one for sure on it all, right? which kind of touched on this, like, do I need to understand,
You already went through this one.
institution renovation costs? Yep.
Okay,
And
last
settlement.
settlement here. So you're gonna use a title company,
Yep.
right? Do y'all have a specific title company you use that's wholesaler?
I mean, I was using Superior Title and then Jenna moved, so I just, I
Followed
stuck with
her?
Jenna.
You followed
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you, Vinny? Anybody you like?
Oh, I use Rely Title.
Rely Title? What made you choose them?
A deal I had with another title company. Well, yeah, it was a referral.
Okay, great. Referral. Anybody else have a title company they like that's investor friendly?
Independence Title's pretty good. They've been very good to me, but I don't do wholesale deals. Closest I've come is I've bought, foreclosures. I love to do pre-foreclosures.
Yes.
Similar type deal.
We do a lot with Concord. We do a lot of deals in Nashville and Memphis, but Concord's our.
Yep.
They're our title company we use for everything.
A lot of title companies won't touch assignment fees.
Yes.
And that's why that's important.
Yeah, so you want to be clear on that. So we already talked about whether you're closing a multiple or doing 2 closes or 1 closes, but basically you're just going to use a traditional title company. It's all going to be disclosed on the settlement. Your fee is going to be right there as a line item on the settlement with that title company, and the initial seller that you contracted with and your buyer will both be present there. You may want to have them close in separate rooms.
Highly recommend.
Or at separate times.
Go ahead and just have them separate times. Seller can sign,
Corey
buyer can go
had a
later.
deal blow up after everything was signed,
Everything was signed.
sitting at the closing table.
Cash deal at the closing table.
After it's signed?
Yeah, it's a story
It was-
we will
I'll
tell
happily
off
dive
camera.
into that off camera. But that was one that, it was quite a lick for everybody on that one, and it just
Yes. And
totally melted down.
if you've had that conversation on the front end, right, which is, so we've already established, we're in a symbiotic relationship. As a wholesaler, I'm in a symbiotic relationship with investors, right? So I said, hey, I'm gonna be working potentially with a partner on this project. My partner may be attending closing, right? You're gonna see my partner's name on the closing documents, right? You don't have to attend closing. Many wholesalers don't attend closing, but if you've got that relationship, you may want to. It kind of depends on.
You might want to at that point, but I would just assume.
You attend closing?
Do I? I didn't intend closing when I was selling residential sales.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like attending closings because that's when you have to open your checkbook.
That's why I don't show up.
Attending closings is a great way to reduce your commission and pay for fees out of pocket.
That's right.
That's where it all tends to show up, is right there at the end.
And then when I'm not there, somehow, like when I happen to, somehow magically it just works out. Without me writing a check for something that had nothing to do with me.
That usually indicates you got a good title company, because those people really they are almost psychologists a lot of times.
Right.
so.
Sure.
To help.
Well, it's
pull
keeping
that
everyone
advance.
focused on the end, right? Because this is an emotional process.
Yeah.
Corey, should you pull title on a property?
Yes.
Why would you want to do that?
Yes,
you wanna have-
I mean, I would say almost always, like as soon as you get this under contract, you kick it over to a title, you have them start doing.
What's
title work immediately.
actually, so we got people that are brand new here.
Sure.
What is the importance
Why?
of pulling title? Like, why do we pull title? What does that look like?
It's a third-party verification process where they're going through and they're actually verifying that the person that is selling the property, in fact, actually owns it, right?
There's one, right?
Big one
Ownership.
right there. That there's no liens, there's no other heirs or anybody that could come in here and kind of cloud this transaction from moving forward, right? That's where, tax liens, we talked about tax sales a little bit.
Yep.
That can cause like some clouds in title and things like that. So definitely as soon as you get any kind of property under contract, you kick it over to title immediately. Start letting them do their
And
work.
Don't make assumptions because there's a chain of title. Just because the person's
Yeah.
selling you, got title doesn't mean that the title's clear. Doesn't mean that the title company that they use actually did their homework and the chain of title is legally enforceable all the way up the chain. So when you get someone that's good, they're gonna walk you through that. They're also gonna look at any mortgages, municipal tax liens, any encumbrances. Basically you just wanna make it clear, like, I have a property that I can actually sell, right? And do you pull title on deals?
After getting my B2C contract signed, the title company gets pulled up.
Yeah.
Don't have to have a war story, I'll tell you a couple crazy title stories.
I love it. All right.
I just had a big one fall
Questions
apart
next.
because of title.
Yeah, just last minute questions. Questions, comments,
All
queries,
right,
questions,
so
concerns?
it's 7:54. You know, we packed a lot of information in there. If anybody has to go, we're gonna do some questions. Feel free. If not, we're gonna stay here. We're gonna be networking. Corey's got permission to be away from the baby for a little while tonight. If you haven't seen Corey's, we'll show you baby pictures. Has a beautiful family.
Happily show you baby
And if you don't follow Corey, you're missing out on T-Rex versus Velociraptor conversations with Owen.
Yeah, it was a fun debate.
I love that one. So yeah, questions. I saw a hand back there, Chuck.
So as a realtor, I mean, do you have to, I guess, show your card that you're a realtor? I mean, there's gotta be some kind of liability, extra liability if you're a realtor trying to do a wholesale.
I mean, so I think your brokerage or your office is gonna probably have some of their own protocols or things in place, right?
I'm gonna phone an expert. Travis, Vinny, what's your experience? Or what's your experience?
We have
Go ahead.
It's a line item on the contract that you sign and that you review with the seller.
Yep.
That I'm licensed, I'm not acting as a realtor.
Okay.
It's transparency.
And we'll be selling this for a profit, you know, that's the goal there.
I was just gonna say, we just disclose ourselves also. We always disclose ourselves, and we have a NDA that we do at the front, making sure people know like process and everything, you know, who we are, who we work with. But then also we're like wheels, you know, so it's very different, but we do follow that one rule.
So what the state of Tennessee says is that, unlike other states, agency can't be implied verbally, right? I can't just it's not a handshake, and other states is that way. I'm licensed in Florida, and it is that, I just put in retirement status, it is that thing like, hey, there's this weird implied thing where we kind of verbally agree we're working together. Here it's gotta be in writing. What it also means though is anytime that you're having a conversation with the client, best practice is that you're having a conversation about agency, right? If I'm acting as a realtor and I'm talking to you, it should be clear like, hey, you wandered into the open house, I represent the seller. Like my job is to get money out of you. And if you do it skillfully, you tell people that and they still tell you everything, right? Because you do it in a nice way. Hey, I'm here acting on behalf of the seller. But in the same thing, I should be having a conversation with the fact that I have a license. It's not, I'm representing myself here, right? I'm not acting as a realtor in this transaction. Pretty simple, but great question.
Yeah,
especially for these agents in here.
What's skip tracing?
Skip tracing? So basically, I pay 12 cents to, like, let's say I look up 123 Main Street.
He just wants to know what it is.
getting-
Explain to him what skip tracing is.
Oh, like you just pull it, you just skip trace it, and it gives their phone numbers.
It's an old school term of where they would skip trace through different databases before everything was computerized, right? Where we're gonna identify like from some basic information about you, I'm gonna get all of your contact information. Because they were skip tracing through different like credit bureaus or different databases.
Like a lot of the information that's out on the county may not necessarily lead you to the owner. They may not have a telephone number out there. They may have their tax bill delivered to a post office box, all that kind of stuff. So basically it gets you information.
So that can be as simple as using like True People Search or something to find somebody, or Spokio, or going to tax records, or it can be something sophisticated like using a service that is consolidating information for you.
Using a RedX, a Vulcan. I mean, there's a number of those different services that are out there that really all kind of do the same thing.
That real estate stalking, would that sum it up a little
Yeah,
bit?
it's a good way to put it, yeah.
Diving on people?
Yeah. Tobias?
What's a normal time period on a wholesale deal?
So
the time that you put it under contract and the time that you have until it expires to where you can't, transfer it anymore.
I mean, that's, I think partly I'm just on your negotiation up front of whatever timeline you set with that person, and then you're essentially putting yourself under the gun to find your buyer and then have them come pick it up and close it inside of that window.
Do you guys try and negotiate as long as you can? Is that what
Yeah.
That is?
I usually do 45 to 60 days, and then I have like an addendum for a closing date if I find a buyer so that I can close faster.
Yeah, it's all negotiable, so you can close in 30 days, but if if you find your buyer sooner, you can say, or close sooner.
Yeah, everything's
Or
negotiable.
like
I was thinking
180
a comfortable term for that seller would be 45 to 60 days normal.
Yeah, that's pretty good, 30 to 60 days. is a good
I
time.
would say that it's really like, just like in residential real estate, right? It's how do I get you the most amount of time with the least amount of hassle in the time frame that works best for you? Time is a big lever for price. So if you can close quicker, it can give you a lot of flexibility on price, but that's gonna come from having the ability of knowing like, I can go get this deal bought by someone.
And also sometimes, just like, listing a house, sometimes sellers need longer.
Yeah.
100%.
Like, I had a ton of crap here, I need 60 days to get out. All right, no problem.
I mean, and that's a whole separate conversation. Honestly, just asking people.
Yeah, just filling it out.
Ask it. You want to know the best conversation you can have before you're going out there to talk to somebody? Hey, what do you hope to get out of our conversation today? And they will tell you exactly how to close them. If you have that conversation, if that pre-qualify, I'm confirming our appointment, I'm gonna pre-qualify and confirm, same thing I do in a listing appointment or anything else, right? All the information I went over, and I'm gonna ask you explicitly, hey, what's the most important thing that you wanna get out of today? And they're gonna tell
you exactly what they want to
right? I wanna make this valuable for you, so what's important that I cover today? It's probably gonna be price, but let's, let's get in it quickly, but then it may be something like that, like, I'm really concerned, especially elderly clients, I'm worried about moving. You may have to do some creative things there.
I go 30 business days, which ends up being like 45 days.
Oh, that's
That's a nice little way to put it. 30 business
The
days.
psychology there, the professional.
And all that stuff that you guys are going through is why I'm willing to pay you all, because I personally look at it as I'm outsourcing basically
Your
my sales
marketing.
department.
Yeah.
Sales
Yes.
department. Because at one time last year, we had like 2 apartments and 4 flips under construction, and I don't have time to manage all that and go find my next deal.
Yeah.
So if you guys can find me a next deal and I can pay you $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, depends on the deal, you bring me a good deal and I can just put it in the pipeline and turn the crank, I have no problems paying you guys, that's awesome. But if I go out there and all the numbers are off and I just spent 2 hours going through a house and the numbers don't line up and whatever, you're gonna lose credibility if that just doesn't work. If you're way off, if you're a little bit off, hey, we all got opinions on, like, after repair value is basically an opinion, and
Based on
renovations
finishes too,
have
right?
kind of got a range. I'm sorry?
ARV based off of your finishes too as the contract.
Yeah, you can,
What do you put in the house,
So, but if I get out there and you're way off and you do that to me a couple times, I just don't have time.
That's right, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's just, I'd be doing the same.
Any other questions, and especially if you're gonna come up and ask this question afterwards, that's probably the best question to ask, because that's the one that most of the room is actually thinking of, right? Because a lot of people with experience have been talking. Anybody have any questions, anything before we wrap up? All right.
Hey, I'll just throw it out there that if anybody does want to get their license, Cory, Justin, or I can hook you up with a scholarship for all your pre-licensing, which will save you about $1,200. So just talk to one of us.
Yeah.
Do that.
Yeah, no, thank you, I love that. Also, Matt is a great resource on equestrian property. I think one of the better guys at contacts over the country. He really, we looked at stuff together, really knows his stuff. Is a great asset to have. Like, I brought him in on deals rather than trying to do it myself. Yeah, all right.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for showing up today. I really trust everybody got some value out of this today. Really want to say a quick, just special thank you to like Vinny, Jeremiah, Jesse for kind of popping in, sharing your insights, sharing your perspectives just as active wholesalers in our market. Super grateful to have you guys kind of pop in here.
Grab their contact
info. If you're looking for deals, like these are your people right here to go talk to. Make sure to leave us a review. Check us out on meetup.com. We now have a Grid Knoxville Facebook group, so make sure to go ahead and join that as ways for us to kind of all share information, mastermind. Make sure RSVP for next month's meeting. We're gonna be just diving into creative finance. Again, that's subject to lease options, seller financing. It's gonna be a great one. I'm really excited for that meetup. Thanks everybody.
Most importantly, connect with people in the room.
Yep.
Like, I think I'm a huge believer in relationships. That's why we invest so much time in running groups like this. Like, relationships will take you places that money can't.
True.
Relationships will get you deals, right? And I use my relationships for so many things. The people that I do business with, the people that I like, I consider friends, That's why there's so many realtors in this room, right? I like being friends with people in this industry. You know, I've worked and talked to a lot of these guys on a regular basis. There's a lot of people in the room that I trust. It gets an exchange of information.